Just don't mind that. See, told you.
Well, I mean,
I'm a wrecking ball.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, it's typically Bailey.
Okay. Guess I'm just gonna have to lean into this.
Yeah, just let me know when you're still.
Okay. I'm just not really in it. Is that okay?
Angle, you can angle it slightly.
Where can you do it?
There you go. Stop.
That's
Stop.
yeah, that's better.
Nice. Okay. Ready?
Alright.
Actually, wait. Whoa, people are gonna ride soon. Okay, go ahead.
Alright. Oh crap. Let's see if it's. Give me a second. Alright, let's see. Alright, here we go. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Rookie Realtor Reality Podcast with your host, Amir Hunter.
And Bailey Weaver Packard.
With so many people thinking that realtors just look at beautiful houses and post on Instagram, this podcast brings you back to reality. This podcast explores the good, the bad, and the in-between.
We're both with eXp Realty, so our experience may be different than yours, but over time we'll have other agents, past clients, and others in the real estate industry, such as inspectors, builders, lenders, and more.
This is episode 4, Always Finding Something, featuring Paul Marino. So Paul is from House Scanners, and he is a home inspector. So how are you doing today, Paul?
I'm doing really good. Thank you.
Good.
Thanks for having me over here.
Welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here.
So one thing we kind of do, we go around and we talk about, what are our wins and losses this week.
Okay.
So Paul, I think we're going to jump you in there too if you want to have some wins and losses if you choose. You don't have to.
Yeah, I might think of a few.
Okay, all right. So we'll let Bailey go first since Bailey always has them ready to go.
I'm ready to go. Okay, so we all know the last 2 weeks, my losses were that I didn't win any offers that I had sent for my clients. But my win this week is that I did get an offer accepted for those clients. So that's a huge win. We beat out, I think it was like 8+ other offers. So I'm super excited. It was a hot property in Raleigh. And now my loss, should I go ahead and I'll jump in with my loss.
Well, I feel like you've been slinging some really good offers with those clients.
We have.
And I don't know how you had to go to, this is offer number 3 for them?
3.
Yeah. So those were for some pretty strong offers. And I think last week we talked about that creative one in regards to these clients. So I'm glad that they finally got under contract.
Me too. It's a perfect house for them. It's crazy how the ones that you lose aren't the right ones for you, and you don't realize it until once you get it accepted. You're like, oh my gosh, this house is so much better than all the others.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
So for me, you just went over your win. So for me, a win this week was that the exterior for a flip that I'm going to be listing is finished.
Nice.
So I was a little worried because I think about a week or 2 ago, they were moving a lot slower than I expected. But they got the exterior finished, so they put like brand new soffit, roof, siding, windows, all that on the exteriors being finished. So it looks like we're probably going to have that listed in the middle of May.
Nice.
So excited about that happening. So Paul, do you want to jump in with any wins?
Sure, nothing as interesting as what you guys are talking about, but I guess in the life of a home inspector and a small business owner, you have your periods of inactivity and
For sure.
time in between taking bookings and jobs. So
It's a roller coaster.
it has its ups and downs.
Yeah.
So I guess like in the past 2 weeks or so, it has like certain times where there's nothing happening, but then I guess since yesterday I booked 3 houses back to back. So yeah,
Nice.
it comes in waves. So
Listen, us too.
yeah,
it does.
sometimes all at once. So you have to like kind of manage your schedule really smartly.
Absolutely.
So what's your loss this week, Bailey?
I got a flat tire yesterday.
Yeah, I see you're still driving on a donut.
Yeah, I was supposed to go this morning to get my tire fixed. and I chose to sleep in a little bit. So after this, I'm gonna go to someplace to get my tire fixed.
Yeah, I feel like you should always budget for new tires as a realtor.
And also, I realized everybody needs AAA.
Yeah.
I didn't have it, but thank God my husband did, and so I used his card.
Gotcha.
And they came out and fixed me right up.
Yeah. So for me, my loss this week is that today I'm actually having to send a termination of a contract.
Oh, no, don't.
So I've been under contract on this property since February. It's a foreclosure, but unfortunately the bank can't get the title cleared with the DMV. It's a mobile home, so it's still with the DMV.
Gotcha.
So we've been trying to work on that, and then they wanted my clients to sign a hold harmless agreement in order to move forward, so they can, I guess, buy the land, but still be waiting on the title for the mobile home. But
Interesting.
that's a little risky. So my clients were like, "Yeah, we're not going to do that."
Oh, man.
So, but luckily the bank has agreed to refund their earnest money because obviously they can't pass clear title.
Right.
So I was a little worried about that on the initially, but I was basically went back to listing agent and said, "Hey, you guys can't pass clear title, so you guys would technically be in breach of the contract." So,
Oh, good.
so that's worked out. So hopefully we can find some additional property options for them and
Definitely.
see if we can get another property for them to flip, and hopefully I'll be able to list that. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. Any losses this week, Paul?
Not particularly, but a funny anecdote is again, when you're a home inspector, you never know what to expect. So one day previously, a realtor sent me some photographs of a house which was kind of alarming. There were big heavy cracks in the drywall and ceiling, and with a vague message saying, "What are your thoughts here?" And the first initial thought was, "Oh, was this a house that I inspected for you guys previously?
Right.
And this is something that you guys are trying to get to the bottom of." But luckily, it was just a house that they were a showing and wanted my thoughts on it. So that initial gut reaction when you see that is something you have to kind of manage well when you're a home inspector.
Yeah,
definitely.
But all well there.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. So I think it's probably important for us to maybe introduce you. I know we kind of said it briefly when we first started the podcast, but tell us a little bit about, I guess, what you do. So you're a home inspector, and tell them a little bit about your company and kind of how long it's been around.
Sure, yeah. So I am the sole owner and operator of House Scanners, which I've been doing it for about 4 years.
Cool.
Previously, my father was a home inspector. He started actually the company in 2008. So he was an inspector for quite a while, but after a short time of shadowing him and apprenticing with his company, he was eventually able to retire comfortably, and I kind of stepped in and took the reins of the operation.
Love it.
And yes, I've been doing it for 4 years since, and based upon his setups and how he's ran the company and done the inspections, I've sort of fine-tuned it to my liking and bringing it more into the 21st century with like a lot of more technical advancements to it. So
absolutely, you definitely have.
Yeah. So I've been doing that for a while, and we do offer the basic residential home inspections, which is a complete analysis of the home property from top to bottom, from all major components of the house, like all the big ticket items that are looked at for analysis, like structure, roof, shingles, attic spaces, utilities, electrical, plumbing, and then even down to the very small stuff that could even just be like a cosmetic defect. We look at everything that could potentially come up as an issue or a safety hazard that the home buyer will need to know about before they go about purchasing a house. So it's a very important part of the home buying process that, unfortunately people are waiving it nowadays. And so in order to get the deal done, but it's a very highly recommended procedure to have done.
So important.
Yes.
Yeah, it is. So actually I met Paul around the time I got my real estate license, and so that's how
we were friends, but I wasn't sure what
So me and his wife and me and my wife kind of met out at once, and then we found out that he was a home inspector. And so like I ended up like hiring him for like one of my contracts, and I was like, oh well, he does like a really thorough job. So now he's just become my preferred home inspector.
Yeah, we've done maybe maybe 5-6 houses so far.
I think at least.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that was like since the late last year. So you've been killing it.
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with Bailey.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. But we've done a house together too, Paul.
Yeah, very recently.
Yeah, 2019 I think it was. And I had a great experience with you. I'm so
Well, that was a really nice house as it was. So
Yeah.
it was a good inspection that day.
I love it.
I've had some rough ones before.
We all have.
Yeah, but we work through it and we provide the best, job possible for, if you do encounter a bad house, there's
Right.
ways to go about it.
Awesome. We're going to dive into that, I think, a little bit later on, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about some of the services that you offer. You said the general home
Right.
inspection. You also offer radon services too?
So yeah, there's like a couple of additional environmental testing procedures that we do, such
Okay.
as radon analysis.
Okay.
So not a lot of people know about radon in
Right.
North Carolina, which is actually one of the second leading causes of lung cancer behind smoking.
Wow.
So all houses in North Carolina, or just in the state in general,
Mhm.
have a certain level of radon in the air. So radon is an odorless gas that is released from the soil because there's certain amounts of uranium in North
Right.
Carolina soil. So to test for radon, it is a simple procedure just to track the amount of radon in the air quality.
Right.
So if it's above a certain threshold that the EPA regulates, then that is the trouble zone. So
Right.
having radon remediation is done after that.
I always suggest for my buyers to get it done because I've actually run into it a lot in Raleigh and in Wake Forest.
Yeah, it depends on the area and depends on the terrain. So you see it more
Yeah.
in the mountainous regions or houses with finished basements.
Right.
But radon testing is something we do. In the more rural areas, I offer a well water analysis. So
Awesome.
taking samples of water for testing for E. coli, bacteria.
Mhm.
Sometimes I do the full panel FHA-VA
Sure.
testing for
Yeah.
iron and nitrates and
Mhm.
nitrites. So well water analysis is a additional thing.
Nice.
I didn't even know you offered well water because you inspected a house that I ended up having to find somebody else to test
Oh,
the
for
well
real?
water.
Oh, weird.
Oh man, I thought I should have told you. Well, that's something
No,
I do.
We should ask.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, you
now I
can
know.
see this information on my website too.
There you go. Yeah, so you do have a good list with
Yeah.
prices, which I like.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the last environmental service that we do is take some samples for testing lead paint or asbestos.
Oh,
So
okay.
I've done that quite a few times
Nice.
where it ended up having asbestos, which
Wow.
is not fun.
No, definitely.
Yeah.
So Bailey loves this specific service that you offer
Mhm.
with people that are buying a home. So you offer like a binder,
Right.
and Bailey loves anything that is paper.
Yeah,
and
paper.
Yeah.
I give a binder to my buyers at closing. So when you pulled out your binder when you came to meet all of us, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
tell me more.
This is something my dad came up with,
Oh, cool.
and I've kept it around for this entire time, and it's
I love
been
it.
well received since. So I mean, I offer a binder,
Mhm.
which for one includes all the paperwork that would be required for the home inspection, and some supplementary documents in there and booklets that offer some good information for especially new time home buyers.
Yes.
There's like a nice little home buyer's manual that goes over all kinds of home maintenance tips, home maintenance 101, energy saving tips. It's a booklet that's provided by INTERNACHI, which is the International Association of Home Inspectors. So
Okay.
yeah, it's basically now that you've had a home inspection, this is what's next. This is how you can learn more about your home.
Yes, and one of those pages in your binder I am obsessed with. I think I even took a picture of it. At the bottom, what was it? It was like estimated
Oh, yeah.
costs.
Yeah, there's also a little sheet I include that is basically just a rough national average for any type of like repairs, renovations, or add-ons you would
Yes.
want to do to the house,
Uh-huh.
just to give you an idea if you ever had to budget for anything after you finish on your home.
Right.
And then also a chart on life expectancies of major components.
That's
Yeah,
one too. I
so
feel
it's
like
like
people are always asking.
how long your roof should last, how long your water heater will last, so
Right.
forth. So
I think that's brilliant, and it makes you stand out from the rest of the
yeah,
inspectors.
because you could say this stuff when you're talking to a client, but
Yeah.
it's just good to have that information as a backup if you ever needed it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So tell the listeners like what areas you cover.
So I could go all over, same as like any other realtor. You cover a wide space.
Sure.
My kind of rule of thumb is like an hour in any direction from where I'm situated, which currently I'm based in Cary.
Okay. Nice.
But I have gone further out than I normally would, just for certain jobs, certain people. One time I went out to the coast for a realtor to do a house for them. So home inspectors could basically go anywhere in the state.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us the craziest thing about your job.
The crazy.
That's a loaded question.
That is a loaded question. I'd say the craziest thing about my job is the unpredictability of what you can find.
Oh,
Yeah. You could expect to go to a house and it looks pretty. You see the listing photos. You're expecting it to be a nice house, and then as soon as you walk in the door, bam, there's something crazy like you see that the foundation is crumbling, or you get into one of the hard to reach spots that no one would ever look at, and you end up finding like a drastic safety hazard, like some electrical component is a fire hazard or something like that.
Have you ever run into any like animals in a crawl space or anything like that?
Very rarely. Luckily, I have not run into any kind of critters that would pose a threat.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, knock on wood. But there's always a chance. For instance, I've encountered snakes twice.
Oh, out of all your 4 years?
Out of all my 4 years.
I feel like that's pretty good odds.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest reasons I do not crawl in crawl spaces. I'll put my head in there, but the last thing I want to do is be stuck in a tight crawl space.
The good thing is, like,
snake.
most of the time the snakes are more afraid of you than you are them, depending on the person, I guess. But they kind of just like to hang out up in the floor joists and in the insulation, so they just want to be left alone.
You know what? Wait, that's good to know, because when I'm looking in a crawl space for snakes, I'm looking on the ground.
They stay up in the floor joists, the insulation where it's warm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I guess if I was a snake,
That's where I've seen snakes before. Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, nothing kind of phases me. I've seen a lot of things in crawl spaces, but like the craziest crawl spaces are the ones that are extremely shallow and hard to navigate.
I wanted to ask you about that.
Yes, so
how do you squeeze in there? Like,
I just don't think about it. I just dive in. If I have my light on, I feel fine, just like knowing what's ahead of me.
Until the battery dies.
Until the battery, which has happened once or twice. So, I have to pull out the phone and use that flashlight. But I always carry my phone with me in a crawl space to take photographs of anything I see. And if anything does happen, I can reach out to get some help if I need it. But
so you're not claustrophobic?
I'd say I'm not, just depending on the amount of crawl spaces I've been into.
Wow.
But sometimes the crawl spaces that are very shallow, you have to end up belly crawling and squeezing under HVAC ductwork, so it could be kind of disorienting, but the main thing is the focus on the job.
Right.
You just got to get in there.
So tell us like what buyers should expect when they're getting a home inspection.
So most buyers, I would say, they are going into the transaction with the highest hopes possible. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
They should go into having a home inspection prepared that no home is perfect.
Right.
There's always going to be something to find, whether it's like a pristine, brand new construction mansion, from that to just an average like ranch house built in the 60s.
Right.
There will be things to find. Sometimes they could be, very, very important to note, but also something that could be something really small. Most of the time, what we do end up finding is relatively small, like a minor repair or something that could be adjusted, like bathroom fixtures.
Right.
Stuff that could be redone if it was done in a sloppy way. But other times, if we end up finding things that are very, very important, like a structural issue or a utility that is not functioning as intended, they must be prepared to, have that be in the house that they were probably going to end up buying.
Absolutely.
And then from there, it's a process of noting and identifying the issues, the defects, giving the recommendations for best course of action, and then having it handled in the proper way with the right contractors.
Right. I've run into kind of what you're saying about you never know about a bad foundation. Well, I ran into that, and we had a engineer come out, and it was $27,000 worth of work that had to be done on the foundation of the home. and we negotiated $20,000 for my client. So that ended up working out great, but that's not always the case, especially in this market.
Yeah, I mean, and Paul, you've pointed out some structural issues on a house that you've done for me, and we had to negotiate. But luckily, getting the home inspection helped in that benefit because I was able to negotiate some of that credit towards the repair. Luckily, ours ended up being about $12,000-13,000, and we got about $8,000 from the sellers in that instance. But that's something that wouldn't have gotten picked up without a home inspection.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So having the home inspection is basically, at the end of the day, it's giving you ammunition to negotiate for repairs, for due diligence, for taking credits off the price. So it's always imperative to have like a good home inspection to find these things.
Absolutely.
So with it being like such a crazy market, a lot of people were like waiving inspections or waiving like repairs, and so how do you keep buyers calm when they waive repairs and offered high due diligences when something pops up on the inspection?
That is a good question. I mean, I've ran into my fair share of buyers that are, I'd say high strung in the situation, especially if there's like a issue that comes about during a home inspection.
Right.
In the case of a house having, waived repairs and stuff like that. The best thing that I tend to do is just to be as diplomatic as possible. I'm not there to, take sides on any type of issue.
Right.
I'm just there to identify and instruct and guide on the best course of action on what to do next. And then in that many cases is the recommendation to bring it to a special type of contractor that is involved in that specific type of thing, like a plumber or an electrician or a crawl space contractor.
Right.
So the main thing for being diplomatic is to show them the issue and then explain it in a way that they can understand, and then also reassure them that it's not the end of the world. This is something that could be fixed, remediated with the right kind of people. So giving them that reassurance that this is not the end of the world, this is something that is just popped up in this part of the process. There are ways to go about the next step in a smart way.
And you're also a really calm guy.
Yeah, that is. I think that's another one of my strong suits there. Just I'm just an affable guy. I'm down to earth and people person. I'm not like. I guess like many inspectors kind of have a reputation of having a chip on their shoulder and very strict and anal, measuring the width of the steps. If it's half an inch too wide, they're gonna say, oh, you're gonna trip on these stairs and die. No, I don't try to do that. I'm more common sense.
You don't
and
scare them.
I don't want to scare anybody, but I still want to make sure that they're educated and having the best information possible.
Yeah, and I think your approach has been helpful. I mean, I've had some clients that were first-time home buyers that were just like straight up panicking on the transaction. And they're like, oh no, we gotta like cancel the contract. And I'm like, hey, there's all these great things about this house, and the things that you've said can be fixed. But I think in one situation I had to actually get Paul on the phone like in the evening, and he had to like talk to him for like 30 minutes.
I've done that many times before. Just get me on the phone and I'll talk you through it.
Yeah. So that's been very helpful, especially for first-time home buyers, to kind of work them through the process and kind of help them think through the process too as well. So what recommendations do you have for realtors and clients when they're walking in a home before putting in an offer? I feel like as a realtor, like I'm always having,
what are we looking for?
like I'm always having this pressure, like when walking through with the client, like, oh, I need to be like looking for like a diagonal crack from the doorway. Or
there's always a lot of like pretty easy to notice things that you could look for when you walk through a house, even before you have like an inspection done. This is like stuff that I found out to be most common in a house that would end up in a home inspection report, but are also easy to identify just from a normal person.
Okay, give it to us.
First and foremost, opening doors and windows. So one of the easiest way to tell if the house may have like some potential structural issues is just checking some doors, see if any of the doors are binding or sticking in their frames or rubbing against the frame. That sometimes indicates that the house is maybe settled a little bit or shifted a little bit.
Got it.
And especially if there's a door that binds, and you start seeing diagonal cracks going away from the corners of the frame.
Okay.
That is one of the very, very first signs you could tell there may be a potential structural issue.
Okay.
So doors and windows binding and sticking.
Got it.
Diagonal cracks around frames. And then there are other little simple things that you could look for as like a potential item that could be repaired. Like if you see windows, or especially the newer double pane thermal windows, like vinyl windows, if you see a lot of fog and condensation that you try to wipe away but it won't wipe away, that can indicate the windows have what they call broken seals. So that just means that the windows are compromised as far as the insulation that they can provide.
Right.
I see broken seals all the time.
I see it in the MLS too. Like
Right.
sellers will not repair broken seals.
Yeah. And then other, little small things you can kind of notice is when you're walking the exterior, look at the gutters.
Okay.
If you see a lot of gutters that seem like they're packed with leaves and debris, that could lead to potential drainage issues. And the first cause of like foundation and structural issues is poor drainage.
Okay.
Any inspector will tell you the drainage around the property is key to preventing major issues in the structure of the foundation and also moisture issues in the crawl space.
Right.
So if you look around and see the gutters are not up to par, that could be a good thing. Or if even the simple thing of gutters not having extensions put at the downspouts,
Right.
that could maybe give you like a thought in the back of your head, like maybe we should focus on the crawl space in this house.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
So what about your services are unique from other home inspectors, do you think?
Well, I guess we had kind of touched
We
upon
did touch on
that
it
previously with,
Yeah.
like the binder situation. That's just something I've always thought is like maybe stood out a little bit differently from other inspectors. Other ways, I guess, is the relationship that you could like build with the buyer.
Yeah.
So I put myself out there always as like being available to reach out after the fact, because a lot of times I guess inspectors don't want to take the calls of a client after the fact, because you never know what could come up, but and I always try to make myself available to be on the phone to talk with the client if they ever had any questions or issues with their inspection report, or in the day of the inspection when there are people attending. I always put an emphasis on walking through the entire house, top to bottom, and going off the list of the issues that we found during the inspection, pointing them out visually so they know exactly what they're going to have in their report, explaining the issues, and then even then, beyond that, as we walk through the house, I try to educate them about the house, like showing them where the utility shutoffs are, explaining the history of a certain material that is in the house, like a certain type of plumbing pipe.
Right.
So a lot of additional information that I try to provide to the client outside of just the normal identifying the issues in the inspection.
Yeah,
So
so much education.
yeah, education is key.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if people are thinking about using you for a home inspection, how can listeners find you?
Easily, you can reach me at my number. My number is 919-748-7136, and that's my cell number. So if you could call or text it. I also have a website, which is just simply housescanners.com.
Nice.
Some social media presence there too. I mean, I got an Instagram, Facebook for House Scanners.
So I challenged Paul, and I was like, "Hey, you need to get on Instagram so like we can tag you for during home inspection."
So you can tag me. Yeah.
Yeah. So tagging you guys, and whenever you need to reach out, you can get on my Instagram. You see some interesting pictures of some things I found in other houses.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, there's that, and pretty much those are my main points of contact.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's all referral based.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So
Well, thank you so much.
thank you, and Paul, you've been a great inspector to work with, and you've been very helpful for me and my clients, and being very patient, especially for those.
I am a patient man. That's what I'm all about.
Yeah.
I appreciate you inviting me and taking time out here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on today and taking the time to speak with us. I think it's very important that people like understand the importance of having a home inspection.
Always get a home inspection.
Yeah, and then also making sure that with the home inspection, that you understand that there are going to be some issues that are going to be in a house, even if it's brand new.
Absolutely.
And being able to be kind of like calm and just process through it, and having an inspector that's going to tell you all the things and kind of walk you through the process of what it could be to fix those things, or if it's something that needs to be fixed later. So we really appreciate you coming on today, and until then,
we'll see you next time.
All right, thank you.
So much like beeping in the background.
Sorry.
We
I
should've-
walked in and I was like, oh shit.
No. We should have thought through that. I didn't even think about the beeping.
I don't think it was picked up in the podcast, but
What was that from?
Oh yeah, no, we're done.
it's a security thing.
Sorry.